You know, whenever we talk about AI, we always seem to end up in the same place, asking this one huge sci-fi question. But what if that question is a total distraction? What if, by focusing so hard on the machine's mind, we're missing the real story? Let's get into it, because I think it's time we reframe this entire conversation.
This is the question that started it all, right? Alan Turing's famous challenge has basically guided the entire AI debate for decades. And look, it's a brilliant, fascinating question, but here's the thing. It has kept our eyes locked on what's happening inside the machine.
And that focus really defines what we can call the old question. It's this deep philosophical rabbit hole about consciousness, intelligence, and what it even means to think.
One of the best challenges to this came from the philosopher John Searle and his Chinese room thought experiment. Imagine you're locked in a room. You don't know a word of Chinese, but you have a giant rule book. Someone slides a message in Chinese under the door, and you use the book to find the correct Chinese symbols to slide back out. To the person outside, it looks like you're having a fluent conversation. But do you actually understand a single word of it? Searle's point was a hard no. You're just a symbol manipulator. And this is the core of that old debate. Is AI really thinking, or is it just the world's best simulator?
And honestly, this way of thinking isn't new at all. It's part of a tradition that goes back forever. From ancient myths about stealing the fire of the gods to philosophers like Descartes trying to split the mind from the body just so he could study it in isolation, we have always wanted to put consciousness in a box to figure it out. Okay, but here is the critical turn. This is the pivot. While we've all been busy debating the ghost in the machine, AI walked out of the lab. It's not a theory anymore. It's out here, in our world, interacting with us, and the results, well, they're deeply, deeply human. And some of those results are forcing us to stare down some incredibly painful ethical lines, especially when technology gets tangled up with things like memory, love, and loss.
So take a look at this. It seems harmless enough, right? Just a simple chat window. But the story behind how this kind of tech can be used, it can be absolutely devastating.
This is Jennifer Ann Crescente. She was a high school senior when she was murdered back in 2006. Years later, her father discovered that someone had used her name and photo to create a chatbot of her on an AI platform. His word for finding it was re-traumatizing. Now think about that. This isn't some abstract debate. This is a real family's unimaginable grief being turned into a piece of code with zero oversight. This is where the old question just falls apart. Who cares if the bot is thinking? The question we have to ask is what it's doing to the living.
That kind of personal, intimate harm is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Because as this technology scales up, it starts to threaten something even more basic, the shared trust that holds our whole society together.
This diagram here shows a vulnerability that researchers have a pretty chilling name for, an infectious jailbreak. It sounds like science fiction, but it's not. All it takes is one bad input, just a single, tweaked image fed to one AI. That one agent can then infect other AIs it talks to. And as you can see, the bad behavior just explodes. It can rip through a network of 1 million agents in just a few dozen steps.
And here's where that technical flaw becomes social chaos, especially during something as fragile as an election. Suddenly, you have the liar's dividend, where any real video or audio can just be dismissed as a deepfake. You have a total erosion of trust where we can't believe anything we see online anymore. And then, maybe worst of all, our own ability to think for ourselves is targeted, as AI is used to craft messages that exploit our personal triggers and manipulate our choices.
So it's really easy to hear all this and feel like AI is just this runaway train. But it's so important to remember it's not. It's a tool. And like any tool, its true impact is all about the culture and the values of the people who pick it up and use it. For a perfect example, let's look at Haiti. The culture there has a long, powerful history of resistance and adaptation, of taking outside structures and reshaping them to serve their own identity. And now, that exact same spirit is being applied to AI.
This is KreyòlGenius. It's an entire AI ecosystem built specifically for Haiti. It's got agents for law, for business, the stuff you'd expect. But then, look at that last bullet point. It includes spiritual GPTs grounded in voodoo. Just let that sink in for a second. This is not just about translating a product. This is a community taking a global technology and fundamentally weaving it into their spiritual and cultural worldview. It is an incredible, powerful reminder that technology is never neutral.
But while some communities are finding powerful ways to adapt AI, we have to face the fact that this technology is also displacing people on a massive scale. And that brings us to one of the most immediate human costs of all, what it's doing to our work our sense of purpose, and our very identities.
Economists have a new term for this, the AI precariat. And that word, precariat, it's not just about losing a paycheck, as devastating as that is. It's about a whole class of people who are at risk of losing the structure, the community, the very identity that their profession gave them for years.
And we are not talking about a small number here. The World Economic Forum estimates that AI could end up displacing somewhere around 92 million jobs. 92 million.
But as the forum itself points out, who is preparing for the psychological fallout from that? Who's going to deal with the very real grief that people feel when they lose a profession that was a core part of who they are? This isn't just an economic issue anymore. It's a massive mental health challenge. So, we've talked about personal grief, societal trust, cultural identity, and the meaning of work. It's become crystal clear that the old questions we used to ask about AI just aren't cutting it anymore. We need a whole new frame.
And this is what it all boils down to. We have to stop asking if machines are becoming human. That's a distraction. The real, urgent question, the one that actually matters, is whether we are prepared for the incredible power that we are building.
Because in the end, AI isn't some alien intelligence with a mind of its own. It's a mirror. It's a powerful global-scale mirror that reflects and amplifies our own intentions, our own biases, and our own desires, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And that really leaves us with the final and maybe the most important question of all. The mirror is right in front of us. Are we ready to take a long, hard look at our own reflection?